And we got a question here right now about what is the destiny of Avengers Secret Wars? Check it out.
Hey, John and crew. This is Zach from Connecticut. So I had a question about Secret Wars. This could possibly be the biggest MCU movie of all time, bringing in old and new characters. But how does the MCU get bigger after that? How are they going to continue the hype train? Bring in an even bigger bad like Galactus? Let me know what you guys think and bring on the filthy.
All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, Zach. And, you know, it's interesting to talk about a movie that is, what, 3 years away? That is a significant amount of time away, like Avengers Secret Wars. Especially, not only do we have a ton of other Marvel movies coming up before that, we have another Avengers movie coming up before that in Kang Dynasty. A couple of interesting things about this whole question. Let's talk about how do they keep getting bigger. That is one of the problems that the MCU is facing, right? How do you get much bigger than a grimace-chinned alien with the stones of creation themselves that can just snap his fingers and wipe away all half of existence? Well, that's tough to top. And so far, they haven't convinced me that they have topped it with Kang. But at some point, like, the pursuit of the something that's bigger becomes a self-defeating endeavor. And that's why I loved what the MCU did in the earlier phases, that the movies always change gears, right? We talk about this a lot. The MCU movies, up until the end of phase 3, have never always been about gotta save the world, gotta save the world, gotta save the galaxy, gotta save the world, gotta save the universe, right? Sometimes it was saving this thing, or in Ant-Man, it was saving his family or whatever. Because when you keep changing gears, it always feels fresh. And at some point, you run out of the bigger bag. I know this is an unpopular opinion. I don't believe a Galactus can work in a live-action movie. How is Galactus a character you can use in a movie?
Just like a little Pac-Man going and getting a planet.
What's going to go on? Is Shang-Chi going to go up and stand on the tip of Galactus's nose and punch him? I don't know how that becomes a character or an interesting thing. And really, we already have the Celestials. And I think we're probably, the way the MCU is going to work it out is that, well, there is some roots to this in the comics too, that there's a connection between Galactus and Celestials and all this kind of wonderful stuff. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they kind of navigate. How do you go bigger? How do you go bigger? How do you go bigger? Because just chasing the bigger can kind of maybe have you running off a cliff. So you got to be careful about that. Excellence in storytelling is not necessarily about fighting a bigger, yet an even bigger bad guy. Just a compelling bad guy. A really good bad guy. Like, that's what you need. Because listen, Wenwu was not a bigger threat than Thanos. But Wenwu was a hell of an antagonist for that movie, man. He was great. So it's not necessarily about making it bigger. Okay, but I want to go back to the first part of your question there. When you say that Avengers Secret Wars is probably going to be the biggest Marvel film of all time, which of course would probably make it the biggest film of all time. Because Avatar is not that far ahead of Avengers Endgame. So if you put out a movie that is the biggest Marvel movie ever, it's probably meaning it's going to be the biggest movie of all time. And when you say, Secret Wars is probably going to be that movie, I have to ask, is it? Is it? Because I'll tell you what, I ain't so sure that's the case. Because right now, the momentum the MCU has is not very momentous. Because when you're talking about the MCU and the momentum it had going into things like Infinity War and Endgame and stuff like that, it was an unstoppable machine of banger after banger after banger, and everybody was loving everything that was coming out, and it was building out to this incredible crescendo that we had in Infinity War and Endgame. And while we still do have a couple of years before we get to the new Avengers movies, I would say, as a fan of Marvel, as a fan of the MCU, the momentum is pretty much stalled. I mean, we still get some great stuff coming out of Marvel right now, absolutely. And I don't want to turn this into a big complaint fest about the current state of Marvel, because there's some great stuff in Marvel even right now. I can't wait for Guardians 3. I can't wait for the Marvels. I can't wait to see Ms. Marvel on the screen again. I can't wait for the return of Shang-Chi. And I'm very, very curious about the New World Order with Captain America. And a lot of stuff I'm looking forward to. They got Fantastic Four coming. Some exciting, exciting stuff. I am very pro MCU. But just as a Maple Leafs fan who has been a Maple Leafs fan my entire stupid life. And they have done nothing but kick me in the balls of hope over and over and over again. And my monitor fell down, Jonathan. Over and over and over again with great disappointment. And I love them with all my passion. And yet, as a fan and someone who loves the Maple Leafs, I can point out, there you go. I can point out when and why they suck. They're pretty good this year. But I'm more than comfortable. If you're a real fan, you can point out the things that are not working. So, with the MCU, I mean, we've had a lot of hit and miss, and Ant-Man, I think there was just a thing where Ant-Man became the quickest MCU movie to drop below $1 million of box office a day. Like, it was, no other MCU film has ever gotten below $1 million a day at the box office faster than Ant-Man did. Not a great introduction to Kang. So I would say this, I don't know. Again, we've got a couple more years. I am not convinced that Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars are destined to be the biggest things Marvel's ever done. They're going to be huge. I mean, they're Avengers films. Of course they're going to be huge. But unless Marvel starts to get that momentum going again, and Guardians 3 can very well be that movie. I got all the faith in the world in James Gunn. So Guardians 3 can be that movie. Then they can follow it up with the Marvels. Let's see what happens with this Blade film. Fantastic Four is coming. How are they going to bring in more X-Men? There's a lot of things ahead of us that could still give us that momentum to roll into the new Avengers films, much like they did when they rolled into Infinity War and Endgame. I'm just saying right now, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion like it was with Infinity War and Endgame. I mean, everybody just knew these are going to be some of the biggest films ever. I don't feel that way right now. And it can get us there, but I just don't feel that way right now. On the flip side of that, the potential is there. Because like you said in the message, you're talking about new characters. You are probably going to be bringing back a lot of the old characters. And it gives you this platform where it could be even bigger than Endgame. But I'm going to say this. The fate of how big Avengers Secret Wars will be won't be about the movie itself. It'll be about the state of the MCU going into it. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to determine how big that movie's going to be. And right now, the state of the MCU, I would argue, as a fan, is the weakest it's ever been. Which is still stronger than most, but it's weaker than it's been. It needs to pick it up. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2023, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for your phone bill? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know I made the switch over to Mint Mobile a while ago. The process couldn't have been easier, and I can't believe that I am spending less than a third of what I was spending on one of the other major carriers before. By going online only and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily in minutes with eSIM. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. Anyway, Chris, it's a really interesting question. We're talking about a film that's like kind of years down the road for us right now. But as you're looking at it, if you had to look into your crystal ball and say, Secret Wars is coming out, is it going to be the biggest Marvel film of all time? Or does it not look like it could be that? Like, what do you think right now?
Well, I mean, I do think it is going to be a lot of returning characters, and I think that'll add to the state of spectacle that comes with it. Yeah. But it's all about execution and good storytelling, right? Like you were saying, it really comes down to characters. And what you had in Shang-Chi was a very justified villain. He had a reason for why he was doing things. He had a method to his madness, right? Villains do not see themselves as the villain. That's why they're so compelling. They are justified individuals.
That's why Thanos was so good.
Exactly. That you understand his methodology. You just might not agree with it because it's heinous genocide. But, you know, you get how he came to that conclusion. right? And so I think that's what you have to do looking forward. There are obviously tons of big bads to look to in Marvel who do have a lot of spectacle. Obvious Galactus, Magnus, you know, Molecule Man, stupid name, but wow, so powerful.
Yeah, who has a role to play in that story.
And we have so many great characters, specifically within the X-Men franchise too. I mean, Mr. Sinister. And I think one of the things I would like them to get back to is those very humanistic stories told through this fantastical lens of individual struggle. I think is missing sometimes in these big spectacle things where it's the entire world is in danger now and we all have to step up to the plate. And obviously you want your superheroes to do that, but I think we are missing a lot of these very human elements. And I'm excited to see the X-Men coming in so that we do have, and it's going to be interesting to see how they dealt with it since we do have that whole lunchbox society versus the outskirts of humanity, the mutants. How it is when you are the other, how it is when you have fantastic powers and are very, very capable when humanity despises you. How do you thrive in a world that dislikes you and has turned its back on you, but still want the best for them for the greater good? Those are the interesting stories. So for me, it doesn't come down to what's going to be bigger. It is what's better. And that's good storytelling.
I'm so glad you brought up a name that I haven't even thought about. But if you want to talk about somebody who has truly the potential to be a great MCU villain, it is Nathan Essex, Mr. Sinister. I mean, you can't use his name, Mr. Sinister, because that comes across as just way too cheesy. But Nathan Essex is one of the characters I have always gone, why has nobody used him yet? Well, I mean, New Mutants kind of teased
a
little bit, but that movie was terrible.
We don't act like it's around.
No, we don't. We just
thought
that movie didn't exist. But I'll tell you what, that is a character I would love to see as a prominent villain. I'll tell you what, this is going to be a very unpopular thing to say. Look, I'm very much looking forward to Doctor Doom. I really am.
Oh, absolutely.
I would be more excited about Nathan Essex.
Well, and we've seen Doom before, and I think that's why I'm very excited about Sinister, because we've seen him in the comics, obviously, but in animated series. And Doom, I'm really excited about kind of Rob's idea too, of more of a political magnet, of somebody who's playing with geopolitics and everything, and seeing how that plays into
a little bit of Baron Zemo in there.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really, really fun look for him, as opposed to, if I can't have Sue Storm, nobody can. Yeah. Null, I hope we get in there at some point too, but I don't know if we'll be able to do that one.
Question is for you. What do you think about all this? At this point, if you had to look into your crystal ball and look into the future, is Secret Wars on pace and on target right now to become the biggest Marvel film of all time? Or do you think there might be a momentum issue where maybe the MCU is sputtering a little bit right now? But listen, there's a lot of time between now and then to build that momentum back up. How do you guys see it right now? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts.